The hour is 9 o'clock, and I'll call this meeting to order. I'll ask Mr. Casey Griffin on our staff to call the roll to establish a quorum. Mr. Griffin.
Mr. Cobbins.
Here.
Mr. Gentile.
Here.
Mr. Jensen.
Here.
Ms. Cole.
Here.
Ms. Maxwell.
Here.
Ms. McInturf.
Here.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Here.
Mr. Rollins.
Here.
Ms. Sapp.
Here.
Mr. Chairman.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 members present.
I declare that a quorum is present and we're duly convened. We will start the meeting off with a moment of silence. Thank you. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize our newest board member who was recently appointed, the Honorable Kelly G. Rollins of Rutherford County. Mr. Rollins has been appointed to a 5-year term by Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally to represent the 4th Congressional District. Kelly is a first-generation Middle Tennessee State University graduate in marketing and management, and he retired after 37-year employment with UPS. He certainly is very active in community service, particularly with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and he joined the Rutherford County Board in 2006 and served as their president multiple terms, and now he's in his 5th 2-year term as chair and president of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tennessee. Kelly is married to his wife, Cindy, and they live in Murfreesboro and have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. So welcome, Kelly. And while this is Kelly's first official board meeting, this is the last official board meeting of our student member, Ms. Britton Sapp. We spoke about her yesterday, but just to reiterate what I think everybody said is what an outstanding representative she is of the students of Tennessee, the perspective that they bring. And Britton sort of set the bar, I think our vice chairman said, for future student board members by activating the student network across the state. And Britton, we know we're going to read about you in the future about many good things. Thank you for all your service. Let's get back. This time I'd recognize any other board members for remarks, and Dr. Morrison also about our workshop yesterday. Dr.
Do you want me to
okay. Any other board members have any opening remarks or anything? Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, we had a very full day yesterday, as we always do on our workshop day prior to our board meeting. We heard from our colleagues at the Department of Education on several important topics, and our partners at Nicemonger as well. On the first topic, it was AP Access for All. And we had a really engaged discussion, I believe, about just the ways that that program has evolved since its inception in 2021 and the many students that it's reaching, particularly in our rural communities. And also got a preview of a fall pilot around sort of a second chance for students who are not quite at the 3 or 4 level when they take the assessment. So it was a really rich discussion. I know I learned a lot. Look forward to tracking that program as it continues to grow. Another colleague from the Department of Education, Matthew Spinella, shared with us an update on the work-based learning framework and the way that that is situated within the 4 pillars that the department is looking at in terms of future-ready work. That was also a really rich discussion and learning about sort of the ways that the department's team is thinking to evolve the way they measure quality and assess the work-based learning opportunities to continue to expand that across the state so that all of our students have access to employer embedded job opportunities that will prepare them for their post-secondary futures. So that was also a really great discussion. And then we heard from Diana Burton, also at the Department of Education, about sort of the non-public school monitoring process, which is relevant for a number of reasons, but particularly because our board is voting on 5 category 4 non-public schools today. So this is an area that we're continuing to try to educate ourselves as we look at that role that the board plays with the Category 4 schools. And then our own Nathan James gave us a lively legislative wrap-up after a two-pronged legislative session, including the most recent redistricting session that meant some changes for our board. So that was also, as always, a good and timely discussion as we think about the changes that we will be implementing now in policy and rule related to some of the legislative changes that were made during session. So it was a great day. I encourage you to go back and watch any of the video from yesterday of those topics and look forward to another full day today. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. I would like to reiterate the comment on both the AP Access for All and the work-based learning discussions that we had yesterday. What outstanding discussions those were. And the point is that those are for all students. They're not for a certain category of student. And our commissioner made that very clear yesterday too. So any further comments? Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Good morning. Thank you all. Hey, I just want to kind of acknowledge the tremendous work of our school districts. We're very proud. I don't know if y'all saw the news last week, but Education Scorecard, which is a collaboration with Harvard University, recognized Tennessee as a national leader in academic recovery. The scorecard, which is among the collaborations, the Center for Education Policy Research at Harvard, Educational Project Opportunity at Stanford, and the faculty at Dartmouth, which they analyzed district level growth in math and reading nationwide. According to the report, Tennessee ranks second out of 38 states in math growth, only to be beaten by DC. And fourth out of 35 states in reading recovery during the same period. So lots to celebrate, just amazing work all across the state. We're really proud of our school districts, our educators, and our leaders for ensuring that our kids are going to get to proficiency in a matter of years. And then just a separate note, we plan to release third grade ELA TCAP scores to districts, and I can't say much more, but we're super excited for that release as well. So I want to let everybody know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opening remark? Mr. Jensen.
Just update, the university school, which is on the University of Memphis campus, graduated its first class of 29. And some of us toured it when we were down there. It's just nice moment that that they did that. And then there's also a thing called the Tennessee Career Academy, which has been started, and it will be 6th through 12, and they've got 6th and 7th grade underway. So it's a CTE focused campus, which you might be surprised I'm happy about.
Outstanding. Thank you. Okay. I want to remind all presenters to give their name and position before addressing the board. I'll also ask that presenters avoid unnecessary jargon. One of the main points of the public discussion is to ensure that any Tennessean watching the proceedings can follow along and understand our discussions. First item on our agenda are public comments. I would like to say that we did get one written comment from Ms. Kristen Darby. It's come to my attention. I'm not sure everybody has seen that. I would recommend that if you haven't seen that you look at that. It's associated with the graduation requirement changes that we're looking at. Next, Ms. Keely Spain would like to address the board. Is she here? You'll have 3 minutes. Morning. Excuse me, can you, yeah.
It'll turn red. There you go.
Good morning. Members of the board, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I want to begin by saying that I fully understand why I'm here, and I take responsibility for all of my actions. I understand that what I did was an error in judgment, and if I could go back and change that decision, I absolutely would. But I ask you today to please look at the full context of the situation and my intent behind it, and the educator and person that I truly am. At the time that this happened, I was a second-year teacher, but it was my first year at the high school. And just days before the senior prank, I'd spoken with a coworker prior to, and he had informed me that students would most likely be coming to me to ask me to let them into the high school to do their senior prank. He said that it's kind of become a tradition for first-year teachers to allow them access and that nothing harmful had ever been done. He told me that he himself had given students his key the year before, and so I knew of situations in years past where teachers had left doors propped open or given them the key for access for the senior prank. As a brand new teacher trying to navigate school culture and traditions, I genuinely believed that this was something that was going to be harmless done by the seniors. When the students approached me, I truly thought they were going to do an innocent senior prank, something silly, funny, and memorable for their last year of high school. At no point did I believe damage would occur, and at no point did I ever have any malicious intent behind giving them my key to enter the building whatsoever. I was not trying to help students vandalize the school, break rules with harmful intentions, or cause destruction. My thought process was honestly that this was part of a long-standing tradition that had happened before without serious consequences. The moment I learned that damage had occurred, which included the breaking of 2 desks, I was instantly devastated and thought that my trust had been broken. I immediately offered to personally pay for any damages to the school out of my own pocket with a personal check because I never wanted the school or the district or taxpayers to bear the cost of any damages upon the mistake that I incurred. I paid $150 in restitution and also spent an entire day completing community service alongside the seniors, which included helping clean the school and prepare for their graduation. I did not run from accountability, although I accepted it immediately. What has stayed with me through all of this was something that the superintendent personally told me. He came to me and said that he believed that this was an error in judgment and not an act of malice or bad character. The district believed in me enough to keep me employed, and I remained teaching in that district for an additional full year after this incident. I continued showing up every day for my students because teaching is not just a paycheck to me. It is my purpose. I spent 5 years in college earning both my bachelor's and my master's degree in education because I genuinely love teaching and showing up for my students. I love building relationships with students. I love helping them grow, not just academically, but emotionally and personally. I love being the teacher who notices when a student is struggling, who makes sure that every child in my classroom feels seen, valued, safe, and cared about. Every single day, I work hard to create a classroom where students know they matter. I want my students to leave my classroom not only having learned something new, but also knowing that someone believes in them and cares about who they become in life. This situation has weighed heavily on me because I know my decision was wrong, but it does not reflect the teacher I am at my core. Since this happened, I've interviewed with multiple school districts and have received interest and opportunities to continue teaching. After meaningful interviews, districts have expressed that they would like to move forward with the hiring process, but are hesitant because of the flag on my license. It is heartbreaking knowing that one mistake I made at 24 without harmful intent could be taken away for everything that I have built in my career. I'm not asking this board to say what I did was acceptable. I know it was not. I'm simply asking for grace and the opportunity to continue doing the work that I love and that I know I was called to do. I have learned from this experience, I've grown from it, and I've taken accountability for it. And I respectfully ask you to allow me the chance to continue serving my students, building relationships, and making a positive difference in children's lives for years to come. Thank you for your time, consideration, and the opportunity to speak today. I've also included letters from some of my students, parents, the resource officer who did charge me, and the principals that I was working with at the time, if anybody would like to read those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the consent items. There's a couple of things we want to discuss in here, so I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the consent items as presented, and the motion in a second, and then that will allow us to have a discussion. Mr. Jensen moves. Is there a second? Second. Ms. McInturf seconds. From a discussion standpoint, one of the items on the consent are the quarterly meeting dates. And I think everybody recognizes that we normally have met on Thursday and a Friday. This meeting we're doing on a Monday and Tuesday. Several reasons, obviously Memorial Day weekend coming up here, but I wanted to get some feedback from board members on, from a 2-day standpoint. What are the best 2 days to meet? Is it Thursday, Friday? Is it Monday, Tuesday? Is it Tuesday, Wednesday? Get thoughts on that as working with Dr. Morrison, trying to see what's best for board members. Any ideas or thoughts? Ms. McInerney.
Monday and Tuesdays are really hard for me as an administrator. Thursdays and Fridays are a lot better for me.
Okay. Any other, Ms. Cobb?
I agree with Ms. McInturf. Mondays and Tuesdays, especially this time of year, were very difficult for me to maneuver all the moving parts and pieces to ending the school year.
Okay. Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you. Totally flexible. I'm assuming that if anybody else has preferences that you would speak. Otherwise, it sounds like Thursdays and Fridays work better for at least 2 of our board members, but speaking for myself, totally flexible.
I agree with what you're saying, Mr. Mullenhour, too. So anybody else have any? Vice Chair Cobbins?
Are Saturdays, Sundays an option?
No.
Definitely not. Although I do think we do some work on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if none other, then I would say that we continue on Thursdays and Fridays.
We're always interested in feedback though. So if you
Yep.
have thoughts after this meeting, let us know. It has always been Thursday, Friday. This is the first time we've deviated from that, but May is a particularly challenging month. So hearing from our educators, that's very helpful. If others have thoughts, please follow up with me.
Any other discussion items on the consent? Anybody else want to bring up anything on the consent items? If not, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next are report items. First item is our State Board of Education member and Commissioner of Education reports. This is an item I always enjoy because we get to see what our board members are doing out within their districts and hear from them. One of the things we want to do, one of our master plan goals is for board members to be engaged. And I think as we go through this, people giving their reports, you will see how that engagement is. So who would like to speak first? Looks like Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Chairman Eby. It has been a busy quarter. To begin with, I'll kind of go in reverse. On May 8th, I was able to participate in the Be Proud Tennessee Draft Day kickoff at a breakfast in Sumner County. Phenomenal opportunities for our young people that are getting ready to enter the workforce. They did a fabulous job. That was in collaboration with the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce. In March and April, I had the privilege of serving on the School Board Training Advisory Committee with members Tom Lanham of Gibson County. He's a local school board member. Paula Dyer of Lewis County, a local school board member. Superintendent Stephanie Husky from Sevier County. Ginger Leach from the Tennessee Department of Education, and our very own Sarah Morrison from the State Board of Education. We met in March and April, and we had a tremendous leader in Miss Allie Reed, who always coordinates our meetings and our agendas and does a fabulous job of getting the information that we need. Also, and I'm sure that my colleagues will elaborate on this, but we spent some quality time together in March at the accountability hearings. Thank you.
Thank you. Other board members' reports? Yes, Mr. Gentile.
Dr. Morrison encouraged me to speak into this one about our collaboration. Back in January, we did pass our strategic plan, and the big key aspect of that was alignment with K-12. And things that we heard a lot last year in our discussions. And I give a lot of credit to Dr. Morrison and Commissioner Reynolds on this one. Is a desire for higher ed to lean in more when it comes in talking about standards, and doing so in a conversation that's not about will we accept students based on these standards? We're primarily open access. It's more beyond that. Will the students be successful in higher education? You guys have the math standards. We have the math standards review coming up, and I just want to thank your staff for working with us in higher ed to get a couple faculty members in there from the math departments to help with that, not just from the education departments with that. So there are other things that we're working with and collaborating on. I just want to thank you guys for working with us as we attempt to lean in more.
Thank you. Continued increasing in collaboration between THEC and the state board is great.
Yes, sir. And I want to thank Dr. Victoria Harpole as well for helping out and leading on this.
Other board member reports. Vice Chair Collins.
Sir, last week had the opportunity to attend in Memphis the Groundswell Network's Opportunity Charter School Conference that hosted educators and advocates from across the nation. And our Chief of Strategy, Allie Reed, there she is, served on a stellar panel and represented us very well. So that was a treat. Also, just this past Sunday, had the opportunity for the first time to participate in high school graduation, greeting students as they received their diplomas from Fairleigh High School in Memphis. And 2 weeks ago, participated in the TISA Review Committee meeting that was virtual. And prior to that, had the pleasure of chairing the accountability hearings that we conducted over, was it 3.5 days or 4.5 days? 4 days with Vice Chair Eby, Chair Eby and Dr. Maxwell. So that was a pleasure and honor to do that, which was the first time that had been done in Tennessee. Thanks.
Any other board members? Yes, Ms. Sapp.
So since the last meeting, I was invited to speak at Cleveland's chapter of Alpha Delta Kappa about my role on the state board. Additionally, I have had the privilege of preparing for and hosting 2 student member connect meetings, making a total of 4 during my term as student member. At the most recent 2, we discussed high school and beyond plans and standardized testing, respectively. Since my term is coming to an end, I am preparing resources for my successor to access in the hopes that he or she will continue this program. I would also love to open up this program to other students across the state so that Student Member Connect can create a more meaningful impact as it expands. So much of this wouldn't have been possible without Allie, so I'd like to give her a big thank you for not only her time and helpful feedback, but also her kindness and friendship. Since this is my last meeting, I would also like to say that it has been such a pleasure to serve on the board, and I will always be grateful for this experience and all of the wonderful people I have met through it. What a true gift it has been to serve alongside you all, and this will always be one of my favorite high school memories. Thank you for always being so inclusive and making me feel like my opinions and contributions matter, and I hope to make you proud as I enter a new stage of life. And then I wrote heart hands emoji.
Thank you so much. Any other board member reports? Yeah, it is hard. It has been an active quarter. I've got several things here. I do meet monthly with the National Association of State Boards of Education. They have a NASB exchange meeting where they talk about different topics, and then you break into your regional groups. And it's always very informative to hear what's going on in the different states. Very similar to what we're doing, but I was able to talk about our accountability hearings. And the states were very interested in how those hearings went and the value that those brought. And in fact, at the national convention this November, I think we are going to submit we're working with Allie to submit a proposal. I think we'll be a presenter at that national meeting about the accountability hearings. Also got to participate in SCORE's Future Forward Summit, which was an outstanding meeting. And we talked about work-based learning. We talked about careers, pathways to careers. The focus of that was on pathways to careers and everything that we're doing. Again, our mission is to prepare students for post-secondary success, and SCORE once again had an outstanding meeting for that. Following that, Dr. Morrison and I attended the Friends of Education, Dave Hanson and his group event. Participated in Superintendent Study Council meetings. Also got to visit JA Junior Achievement BizTown. If you've never done that, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 biz towns across the state. I would strongly recommend it. It is to see those kids go in for the day and participate and learn about running a business. And I actually got to go with my granddaughter. She was a banker that day, so I got to see her work. But I visited the biz town there in Anderson County, and it's outstanding for the days. And then I'm actually serving on 2 committees now. The TN2, which is the Tennessee Nuclear Network. The governor is, Tennessee was just recently named the nuclear state in the country. And the governor has been really working hard, bringing in a lot of new businesses within the area. So I'm serving on a K through 12 workforce subcommittee of that, where we're looking at how we can prepare our students to be able to fill the thousands of jobs that are going to come as a result of that. And then the other activity the governor's really focused on is in AI. And I've been asked to serve on the, as an advisor to the committee, Education Workforce Subcommittee. And Scott Langford from Sumner County is also on that committee. We're actually having our first meeting of that this coming week. So 2 big areas that we'll be working for. And then finally, I did attend the Roane State graduation last week, Roane State Community College, where 101 high school students who are in the middle college program got their associate's degree 2 weeks before they got their high school diploma. How outstanding, what an outstanding program that is. And I think overall there was 175 in the cohort. The Saturday I was there, 101 of them. So I got to shake their hand as they came across the stage. And just to mention that, Roane State then this past week, their executive vice president was in Italy visiting all the military bases, and they are going to offer, first time ever, I think first in the country, in-state tuition to high school students of our military people who are serving abroad. So again, excellent opportunity for those students to get a start on their post-secondary activities. So it's been a busy time. So, any other further comments? Okay. Next item are the annual statistical reports. Ms. Mary Ann Dursky.
Good morning. Mary Ann Dursky, CFO for the Department of Education. In accordance with TCA 49-1-201C12, the Tennessee Department of Education prepares an annual statistical and financial report for the public school systems of Tennessee. The annual statistical report for fiscal year 2024-25 includes an array of information providing the public with statistics about education in Tennessee. This includes information on our schools, our teachers, our students, and a great deal of financial information. A copy of the full report can be found by navigating to the department's website at tn.gov/education and entering 2025 Annual Statistical Report into the website's search function. Past years' annual statistical reports are also available for your viewing pleasure. Behind the summary that you see when you sign on, there are no less than 52 Excel worksheets, which provide all of the supporting detail behind the summaries that you see when you first log on. So I encourage you to look at those for information, detailed information on each of our districts regarding revenues, expenditures, debt service, balance sheet information, as well as a great deal of information about our students and teachers. This item supports the State Board's strategic focus on engagement and accountability as outlined in the master plan by providing operational and financial statistics about education in Tennessee. This item is for information purposes only. No action is required by the board. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Dursky? Just a point, if you haven't looked, you ought to look on it. It's got your addresses for your state, you as state board members. It had me in Cleveland, Tennessee.
We have made a notation to double check information on state board members, and my apologies for that
No
oversight.
problem. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we talk about success in schools. This is one of the highlights every year. So when we get to honor the Blue Ribbon panel, Blue Ribbon schools across the state. So Ms. Deborah Thompson.
Good morning, State Board. I'm Debbie Thompson, Assistant Commissioner of Federal Programs and Oversight at the Tennessee Department of Education. Thank you for the opportunity today to celebrate our 2025 Blue Ribbon and ESEA Distinguished Schools. The National Blue Ribbon Program honors public and private elementary, middle, and high schools for overall academic excellence, for significant progress in closing achievement gaps among student subgroups. From 1982 through 2025, the U.S. Department of Education used the program to identify and celebrate exemplary schools, those demonstrating that all students can achieve. Although the U.S. Department of Education ended the program in 2025, the Tennessee Department of Education is committed to continuing to honor schools with this award, recognizing the collective effort of students, educators, families, and communities in creating safe, welcoming schools where students master rigorous academic content. Today, we will be honoring 6 public schools in Tennessee. These schools were recognized as National Blue Ribbon Schools in 2025 and are among the state's highest performing schools in achievement as measured by the TCAP. We are pleased to be joined by several of those schools today. Distinguished guests, as your school information is read, please come forward to the front to accept your award from the Commissioner. The Commissioner and members of the State Board from your congressional district will join you for a picture. Our first school was not able to join today, but we would like to honor Hume Fogg High School in Metro Nashville Public Schools. Director of Schools, Dr. Adrian Battle. School Principal, Dr. Kelly Hargis. Hume Fogg, Nashville's first public school, was founded in 1912, and it began the first secondary magnet school to serve Nashville's academically talented students in 1983. Hume Fogg serves academically advanced students from the entire Metro Nashville area. They are committed to the provision of a challenging college prep program with a structure of support and acceptance for all, where student voices are valued and diversity is celebrated. Please join me in congratulating Hume Fogg. Our second school, Eastview Elementary School in Greenville City Schools. Director of Schools, Mr. Steve Starnes. School Principal, Kelly Ford. Eastview Elementary School is located in Greenville, Tennessee. Eastview serves approximately 380 students in pre-K through 5th grade. The staff work to foster academic excellence with a social and emotional responsive environment, striving to provide equality and excellence for all students. Eastview is committed to meeting the needs of learners through high quality instruction and high expectations. Please join me in congratulating Eastview. Our third school, Finley Elementary School, White County Schools. Director, Kurt Dronberger. School Principal, Rebecca Ryan. Findlay Elementary is a welcoming school community dedicated to nurturing the unique potential of every student. They serve over 400 students in grades pre-K to 5 with a mission to cultivate a nurturing and safe learning environment that embraces the whole child, celebrates diversity, and empowers all students to reach their full potential. The school's strengths are rooted in a strong academic foundation combined with innovative, personalized programs that promote holistic growth. Please join me in congratulating Findlay Elementary. Congratulations. Our fourth school unable to attend today is Chucky Doak Middle School in Greene County. Director of Schools, Dr. Chris Malone, School Principal, Tammy Sweeney. Chucky Doak Middle School is part of the Greene County school system and offers 6th through 8th grade education focused on the core values of rigor, respect, and responsibility. School staff believe in challenging minds and developing school student character while maintaining a safe learning environment and supporting the physical, mental, and emotional growth of all students. The success reflects the dedication, hard work, and shared vision of their entire school community. Congratulations to Chucky Doak. Our fifth school, who is here in attendance, is McFadden School of Excellence, in Rutherford County. Director of Schools, Mr. James Sullivan. School Principal, Dr. Clark Blair. McFadden School of Excellence is a public K-5 academic magnet in Rutherford County that serves high-achieving schools while fostering a strong sense of community and belonging. The school is widely recognized for its rigorous academic standards, family-like atmosphere, and commitment to developing the whole child. Their mission is to provide students with a strong foundation for lifetime achievement through the promotion of high academic standards and technology integration. Congratulations to McFadden School of Excellence. Congratulations. Congratulations. And our last blue ribbon school is Discovery School in Murfreesboro City Schools. Director of Schools, Dr. Trey Duke. School Principal, Dr. Caitlin Bullard. Discovery School is an academic magnet STEM school within the Murfreesboro City School System, serving kindergarten through 6th grade from across the city. United by a spirit of curiosity and creativity, their diverse student body thrives in an environment that celebrates unique while nurturing the whole child. Discovery's mission is to creatively challenge students to explore, discover, and develop their personal and academic potential. Congratulations to Discovery School. We will now take a moment to recognize the National Association of ESEA State Program Administrators has awards. The National Association of ESEA State Program Administrators have been selecting examples of superior Title I schools from all states for recognition since 1996. Each year, Tennessee selects 2 schools for recognition. One for excellence in serving special populations of students, and one for exceptional student performance. The schools recognized demonstrate a wide range of strengths, including team approaches to teaching and learning, focused professional development, individualized programs for student success, and strong partnerships between schools, parents, and communities. 2 public schools in Tennessee were recognized as National ESEA Distinguished Schools in 2025 and are among the state's highest performing Title I schools in achievement as measured by TCAP. We are pleased to be joined by one of those schools today. Distinguished guests, as your school information is read, please come to the front to accept your award from the commissioner, and you will be joined by members of the state board. Medical District High School, Memphis Shelby County Schools, Director of Schools, Dr. Roderick Richmond, School Principal Wakima Titwiller. Medical District High School is a public early college high school in Memphis, established in August 2021 to provide career pathways in healthcare and technology. Located on the Southwest Tennessee Community College Union Avenue campus, it allows students to earn a high school diploma and an associate degree at the same time. The mission of the school is to graduate college and career-ready critical thinkers who are emotionally conscious, socially responsible, and prepared to embrace their role in a global community. Please congratulate the Medical District High School. And our last school to recognize was unable to be here today, but we'd like to take a moment to recognize Porter Elementary School in Blount County. Directors of school, Justin Ridge, school principal, Stacy Hawkworth. Porter Elementary School, around 220 K-5 students in Blount County, Tennessee. The school is renowned for operating for over 150 years in the same community, with many generations of families passing through its doors. Their mission is to inspire all students to exceed their potential as they empower learners through effective and innovative educational practices and a safe and supportive environment. Please join me in congratulating Porter Elementary. Thank you, members of the State Board and distinguished guests.
Thank you. Again, congratulations to all the schools that are recognized today. That's awesome. Next item on our list is the consent items for the teacher licensure actions. Do I have a motion to approve the settlements that were developed?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? This is for the licensure discipline settlement rules.
Second.
We have a motion and Dr. Maxwell seconds. Is there any discussion on those? No discussions. I'll ask Mr. Griffin to please call the roll.
Mr. Cobbin.
Aye.
Mr. Jensen. Ms. Cole. Ms. Maxwell. Ms. McInturf. Mr. Mullenhour. Mr. Rollins.
Aye.
Ms. Sapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
The motion passes. Thank you. Next item, item B, is the automatic teacher licensure actions, revocation, permanent revocation, and prohibitions. Is there a motion to accept those as presented to the board? Dr. Maxwell?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Mullenhour seconds. Are there any questions or comments? No discussion. Mr. Griffin, please call the roll.
Mr. Cobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Jensen. Ms. Cole.
Aye.
Ms. Maxwell.
Aye.
Ms. McInturf.
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Aye.
Mr. Rollins.
Aye.
Ms. Sapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
The motion passes. Thank you. Next item is the teacher licensure discipline actions for individuals. We do need to bump item number 12, that's Keely Spain, from the consent agenda and consider it separately. immediately following consideration of the other items. So we have all the other items, 16 of those. Is there a motion to accept those as presented?
So moved.
Vice Chair Cobbins moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Mullenhour seconds. Is there any further discussion? No discussion. Mr. Griffin, please call the roll.
Mr. Cobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Jensen. Ms. Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. Maxwell.
Aye.
Ms. McInturf.
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Aye.
Mr. Rollins.
Aye.
Ms. Sapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
Motion passes. We'll now take up the specific item that we pulled out, Ms. Keely Spain. Recommendation is for a formal reprimand. Is there a motion to accept for discussion?
So moved.
Vice Chair Cobbins moves. Is there a second? Mr. Mullenhour seconds. Questions, comments, discussion? I'll bring this one up. This one is a tough one. I'll say I really appreciate Ms. Spain coming to speak before the group today. Obviously, she has a passion for teaching, which is what we want. We also have to look at the safety of our students. And so when I look at the situation where you make a decision that is obviously not one of good judgment, sometimes you're fortunate that it doesn't result in significant impacts. But when you think of the adverse consequences, it could result in significant impacts. And we as a board have to look and see, we have to be consistent in how we issue disciplinary actions. And I think we looked at an action yesterday. It was a similar situation where a teacher had given keys, and we ended up providing a retroactive 3-month suspension. If we're not consistent in the way that we do these disciplinary actions, it makes it very difficult in the future to handle cases. And so when I look at this, that's something that I think about as I say, is this teacher remorseful for her actions? Does she recognize the difficulties and the positions that she's put the students in? Absolutely. But then do we look at, what's the situation, what could have happened, and how we handled these situations in the past, and how can we do it in the future? So this is something I struggle with right now. I'd like to get other board members' comments. Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll echo our chairman's comments. Thank you for coming today, Ms. Spain. And we would always encourage any educator who believes that they need to share context. We would welcome them to come. Having said that, I would also add to to our chair's comments and say that there appears to be additional context to this particular matter. On the one hand, it's not our place to try the facts and the circumstances of other charges that might exist. On the other hand, it is our responsibility to take that context into account. One of the things that I would say today, Ms. Spain, is that there is a record of other charges against you over other matters, and it gives me pause that those weren't at least mentioned in your presentation. I appreciated your presentation in explaining how much you care for the students and how much you want to serve them and care for them. But I'm looking at one of the reports in our file currently that references at least charges, whether or not those were convictions or not. We can discuss if necessary, but domestic assault, filing a false report, harassment, and aggravated burglary, those were not mentioned by you today. Now, I'm not arguing for the merits of those charges and what happened. I don't know the facts and circumstances, but one of our jobs in this body is to, as our chair mentioned, make sure that our students are protected and cared for. And it gives me great pause that there is additional context to a series of your decisions that I have to assume you intentionally omitted in your presentation today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mullenhour. Any comments from our attorneys or anything? Mr. Madison.
Good morning. Todd Madison, Deputy General Counsel for the State Board. I did want to add a few points of clarification in referencing the past case of letting a unlicensed student drive a vehicle. In that particular instance, the student was going to move the car from the back parking lot to the front parking lot. While doing so, he did take a detour and go on a adjacent highway, which I believe was sort of an aggravating factor for us to consider. Because we did have we had two prior cases that were similar to that, where teachers had given their vehicle keys to students to go run errands for them during the school day. However, those students were licensed drivers. And they, ran the errand, came back. So they didn't have the aggravated circumstances of, one, an unlicensed driver being given the keys to the vehicle, but also the detour nature of it. For Mr. Mullenhour's point, I believe, and Ms. Spain, you can provide additional context here, but I'm trying to find it here. If my memory serves correctly, I think those additional charges were disposed of as, I think, a harassment charge. And yeah, so the other charges mentioned would have been dismissed in conjunction with that. So just wanted to provide some additional context around the past history as far as, giving keys to students and giving them, authority over property that they probably shouldn't have access to.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Madison. When you talk about an unlicensed driver versus a licensed driver, the point is a teacher should not give keys to any student, correct?
Sure. I'm adding that detail in there because in the three past situations that we had where the keys to vehicles were given, in two of them where we did a formal reprimand, the students were licensed drivers. And then the one where we amended the reprimand recommendation to a retroactive suspension, the student was 15 and didn't have a driver's license, which violates TCA code.
So we have given a formal reprimand to teachers who have given keys to drivers. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So in those situations, it was, I think, a culinary arts teacher gave keys to her students to go get some supplies. Another one, the teacher received a call that her son needed a change of clothes at school, and she was tied up, couldn't make it, so she gave her keys to a couple of students on the yearbook staff who did have permission to leave campus pursuant to their yearbook duties. Not necessarily to run errands for her, but those were the tasks at hand for those.
Other questions or comments? Vice Chair Cobbins.
So does the recommended action preclude the educator from being hired?
It does not. So neither the recommended formal reprimand or, as Chairman Eby had discussed, a retroactive suspension, neither would preclude Ms. Spain from being hired in the future. It would be up to the local district as to whether they want to consider that in pursuing employment with her.
So there's no difference as far as on her record, whether it is a retroactive 3-month suspension or a formal reprimand as far as her ability to be hired by a district.
Correct. Functionally, she's hireable, today if either action that we choose to pursue. It's just notated differently on her account and in the National Clearinghouse database. In speaking with Ms. Spain, I know that some of the districts that have offered her employment, they may consider the nature of the action, formal reprimand versus suspension, as to whether or not they want to move forward with employment. However, I don't think any of them had reservations with a retroactive action.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you. Todd, just to clarify, you're recommending a formal reprimand. Has Ms. Spain indicated to you what she is asking for today that would deviate from that?
No, I'm not sure if, the mitigating evidence that she provided or the testimony that she provided, if is just to be a part of the record or further consideration for y'all in determining whether a reprimand is appropriate or, if she just wanted to have her side of the story on record as well. We didn't get that far in our discussions as to an alternative.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chair, would it be okay to just request clarification from Ms. Spain as to what she's asking for
Sure.
from us today, if anything?
Sure.
Today, excuse me, I just wanted my side on record. I'm just asking for the formal reprimand. And may I speak to the other charges?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you
Um,
speak a little bit louder, please? Yeah.
I'm just asking for a formal reprimand today and just for my voice to be on record, but may I speak to those other charges?
Sure.
That was the unfortunate series of events in a nasty small town divorce. After further investigation, everything was dropped except for the harassment charge, and that was solely because I called my now ex-husband too many times. And that's the only thing that remained on my record. Everything else we did not go to trial. I didn't settle out of anything. They were just dropped after further investigation and no proof to anything.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments or actions?
Just,
Mr. Jensen?
this is difficult.
Yeah.
And I think we made great points about we got to maintain the standards, and I absolutely agree with that. I just wonder how long, this is keeping her from doing what she loves to do. Did I hear, how long ago was this? I'm sorry.
This was 2.5 years ago now.
Okay. So she's had 2.5 years to think about this. Obviously, I appreciate your coming in and telling us your side. But it does concern me anytime we are dealing with these matters with teachers, it's just so critical for us to think about the kids. And that's part of our job, is to make sure that our 1 million+ children across the educational system here are protected and guarded and watched over. And it's happening at the local school, but when it comes to us, you can understand so I guess if it's a formal reprimand, and I think you're saying 3 months retroactive, is that?
No, not
Goes either
necessarily.
or?
That was one thing I was looking at to
Okay.
be consistent with what we've done in the past. What I've heard from our attorneys is that in the past, we've done both, that under certain circumstances, we've given a formal reprimand. Under other circumstances, we've given a retroactive 3-month suspension.
Okay.
So that kind of
I
puts it in context.
I want to thank you for having the courage to come here and tell us your your head and your heart about this, and I would be supportive of the formal reprimand, and that it just again, how long do we keep her from doing what she loves is my point.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it's my understanding that our staff has recommended a formal reprimand, and that, in fact, Ms. Spain has agreed to a consent order that's in our file to that effect, and that she's not asking for any variation of that, and that she's asked to simply share her side of the story today. I will echo thank you again for coming. We always want to give people the opportunity to share their side of the story. It seems like everybody is in general agreement here. I think our chair has appropriately checked to make sure that, hey, is this in fact consistent? And we've confirmed that that's the case. And I'd propose that we move forward.
I'd like to make one other comment, is that I do believe you're remorseful. I do believe that you have learned something from this, which is very important. I would encourage you to speak out as you have today to other teachers so that they don't do the same thing. That's one thing every time when we vote on these every quarter. This is the worst part of our board meetings, is voting on these licensure disciplines. And I think about the training that we can give to teachers, the districts can give to keep teachers from doing stupid things, and your intentions were good. There's no doubt about it. But that's a training issue. So I encourage you to use this. I think you're going to be a great teacher. I encourage you to use this, though, to help other teachers. So with that, we have yes,
Just
Mr.
one
Jensen.
word. I would just encourage you. You may already have a mentor that that'll come alongside you if they're not already there. I just encourage you to think about that.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Griffin, please call the roll. This is for a formal reprimand.
Mr. Cobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Jensen.
Aye.
Ms. Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. Maxwell.
Aye.
Ms. McInturf.
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Aye.
Mr. Rollins.
Aye.
Ms. Sapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, first readings. Page. Action items, first reading. First item, professional assessments for Tennessee educator policies. Ms. Taylor Reed. Pardon?
TISA rule.
Oh, sorry. Yes, TISA rules. Tennessee's Investment Student Achievement Act revisions. Sorry, item A.
Good morning. Karen Burkholder, Director of Data Strategy with the Tennessee Department of Education. Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement, TISA Act, TCA 49-3-101 to 115, transitioned the state to a student-based funding formula beginning in the 23-24 school year. The act specifically requires rulemaking by the Tennessee Department of Education in certain areas to define important terms and establish processes and procedures for funding disbursements. The proposed revisions update sections of the rule, including chapter definitions 520-12-5-.02, weighted allocations, 0520-12-05-.04, distribution of funds, 0520-12-05-.12, and BEP transition funding, 0520-12-05-.13, in response to changes in law and state board rules. Specifically, the revisions amend references to WIDA, the state's former English language proficiency assessment, to reflect the state's transition to ELPA 21 as the assessment used to identify English learners. See State Board English as Second Language Programs, Chapter 0520-01-19, and State Board Policy 3.207. For TISA allocations calculated for the 2026, 27, and 27, 28 fiscal years, the English Learner Tier 3 definition includes a maximum proficiency score on the English Language Proficiency Assessment based on the conversion structure detailed in the state's accountability protocol. The revisions also update language related to the distribution of TISA funds through the funding floor provision and safety net provisions to align with changes in the TISA law enacted in Section 3 of Chapter 7 of the Public Acts of the First Extraordinary Session of 2025 and Section 9 of Chapter 235 of the Public Acts of 2025. Regarding the funding floor, beginning with the 26-27 school year, if a local education agency's TISA allocation for the current school year is less than the allocation for the immediately preceding school year, and the LEA has experienced disenrollment, the department will allocate additional state funds so that the current year allocation equals the prior year allocation. Beginning in the 27-28 school year and thereafter, if an LEA has previously received additional funds under the funding floor and its allocation for the current school year is less than the prior year, the department will allocate additional state funds to maintain the prior year funding level. For the safety net provision, the rule reflects updates to the TISA law specifying that an LEA's TISA allocation generated by students enrolled in non-virtual schools must decrease by more than 5% from the preceding year to generate additional TISA funding under the provision. In such cases, additional TISA funds will be generated so that the total decrease is limited to 5%. Tennessee Code annotated 49-1-212 requires that the department prepare a fiscal analysis of any policy, rule, or regulation proposed to the State Board of Education. The revisions removing references to the WIDA assessment and aligning the tiering of English learners with scores from the current English language proficiency assessment based on the conversion structure detailed in the state's accountability protocol are not expected to have a significant fiscal impact on any LEA. Based on analysis of 2024-25 TISA funding and average daily membership, or ADM, across all LEAs, and assuming future growth in funding and ADM is consistent with historical trends, it is estimated that 15 LEAs will meet the funding floor criteria in fiscal year 26-27. These LEAs are projected to qualify for approximately $5.4 million in additional allocations. Per the change in law, additional funds provided to LEAs will be solely state funded. Accordingly, the estimated increase in state expenditures to maintain these LEAs at the prior year's funding level is $5.4 million in fiscal year 26-27. The fiscal impact on TISA funding and LEA allocations in subsequent years cannot be quantified with reasonable certainty due to multiple unknown variables, such as future TISA funding growth and future changes in ADM. Excluding virtual students from eligibility calculations for the safety net provision is not expected to have a significant fiscal impact at either the state or local level. This item supports the State Board's strategic focus on engagement and accountability by ensuring that the state's student-based funding formula is implemented consistently and in alignment with current law and policy. By updating funding provisions and assessment references, the rule promotes transparency and accuracy in how resources are allocated to LEAs. The Tennessee Department of Education recommends that the State Board issue a positive recommendation for the rule revisions in this item. The SBE staff concurs with this recommendation.
Thank you. Our responsibility under this is to make a positive or negative or neutral recommendation that goes with these rules to the Joint Government Operations Committee. We have a recommendation for a positive recommendation. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Vice Chair Cobbins moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Maxwell seconds. Is there any questions? No questions. All right. All in favor then for a positive recommendation for TISA review, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll go into our action items for first reading. Ms. Taylor Reed. Professional assessments for Tennessee educators policies.
Here we go.
Tennessee State Board of Education Professional Assessments for Tennessee Educators Policy 5.105 outlines general assessment requirements as well as pedagogical, specialty area content, and foundational literacy skills assessments. This item proposes revisions to Section 3 Specialty Area Content Assessments to establish alternate passing options aligned with vendor-developed opportunities. These options provide additional rigorous pathways for candidates to demonstrate content knowledge when minimum qualifying scores are not met. Proposed alternate pathways include portfolio or evidence-based demonstrations, modular or component-based testing, and targeted remediation opportunities for candidates who narrowly miss the passing score. This item also proposes adding the Foundations of Reading assessment as an option to satisfy licensure renewal or advancement requirements for job-embedded candidates, aligning literacy assessment pathways for educators. Finally, the item proposes updates to Section 3 to add visual and performing arts and college and career technical education academic endorsement areas to the list of qualifying endorsements where a degree in the content area may be used in lieu of a content assessment, along with formatting updates to improve clarity. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. The SBE staff concurs with this recommendation, and with that, I'm happy to take questions.
We have a recommendation for professional assessments for Tennessee Educator Policies 5.105. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Dr. Maxwell moves to approve. Is there a second? Okay, Ms. McInturf seconds. Ms. McInturf, we'll turn it over to you.
So I know in the past couple of years, I've spent a lot of time communicating with you. I
Yes,
really
ma'am.
want to make sure that teachers have the opportunity,
Teachers have the opportunity to add endorsements and have multiple pathways to do that. I'm scared with this, we're going too far. I feel like we're watering down what a teacher certificate would look like if we allow teachers to not be able to pass the content that they're supposed to be teaching and masters of, and they're masters of their craft, and being able to just do remediation, which the way it's worded, they're not having to take the test again. They would just go through remediation, and then that somehow that would show they know the content. Is that correct?
So there are a few flexibilities that we are proposing within this item. I'm not aware if you all were able, I did send an attachment along that kind of explained each flexibility, and that's just a broad term that we're utilizing for each vendor. So there are a few options where it is what we would call remediation or modules that would be completed. These modules are aligned to the assessment. There's other options where candidates are actually submitting portfolio-based evidence. I like to think of it almost like a Ed TPA, but for content. So they're actually submitting evidence from their classroom, and that's scored. And then there are a couple options where there are modular-based or smaller sections of an assessment. So for example, I know that you and I are both elementary. So let's say that we take the elementary math and we're not successful. We narrowly miss the score. There's an opportunity for us to just take one component of that elementary math assessment or another assessment where these are offered. And so you're not having to take the full assessment again, which we have heard from a lot of stakeholders can be a financial and otherwise burden, and you'd actually be able to take part of this assessment, and then that part would be calculated into your entire score. So to not cleanly answer your question, yes, and there's also some other opportunities.
And I think it would be, I mean, I'm okay with that, but just the portfolio and the remediation where they're not actually having to pass a test. Because if I'm putting my child in a calculus class, I want to make sure that teacher has mastered and can pass a calculus praxis. I mean, I don't love that. It doesn't make me feel like we're doing what's best for students if we're, like I said that before, watering down the certificate. We are making sure that teachers are having the most accountability for third grade. I mean, we've got their score, we're getting their scores back. And if we, with the level of effectiveness, that's showing that's a teacher issue at some point. And I want to make sure that the teachers in the building have passed those tests to make sure that we're giving those students the best opportunity. So that's where I'm kind of, I don't love that. And I also had questions on the narrowly missed. Do we know what that means by narrowly missed?
Yes. So a few things to add here. I will say we are approaching in the nationwide about 50% of states adopting a variety or all of these flexibilities, depending on their local policies and all like that. So I will say it's not Tennessee would not be the first to look at some of these. And with that, when you're not the first, of course, we know that the vendors, and I will say there are representatives from each vendor here today that could speak more to the psychometry and all like that, I'm not an expert in it, would not claim to be. However, these have been through internal validations, external validations, et cetera, for all these types of flexibilities. But as far as narrowly missed, this would also depend on the pathway. Tennessee adopts cut scores or qualifying scores, as we call them, based on vendor recommendations. And historically, that's what we have done. And so that's what we continue to do. And so narrowly miss is, depending on the pathway, sometimes set by the vendor at one standard error or one deviation from a passing score. And then there are other areas where it's not necessarily set by the vendor, but they do make strong recommendations. And we would choose to go with those strong recommendations, just as we do with the cut score. And so it's not something where you're looking at someone who is very much off the mark. At that point, they would need to simply retake the assessment. This would be someone who is very close within one standard error of that qualifying or cut score.
Thank you.
I had actually had that narrowly missed tagged also. I still think that brings a lot of judgment into the picture. I mean, can you change it to narrowly missed as identified by one standard deviation or by the recommended vendor? Or I mean, just narrowly missed as it is right now is just so open. I mean, anybody could judge. Well, I think I narrowly missed.
Yes, we're happy to make that language change. I will say that for all of these flexibilities and with both vendors, it is kind of vendor driven, if you will, about the communications around. So if we say for the ones that are set as one standard error, the communication goes out from the vendor to say, we have identified you as, a candidate who would be eligible for this pathway forward. And similarly, if we are to adopt with a positive recommendation and adopt the recommended from the vendor threshold, it would be the same. So there is not an area here where the department or the state board is having to make decisions of, are you a narrowly missed or not? That would be set in stone. This was purely just for language purposes, but we are happy to identify in communications, and we will, that those scores and the narrowly missed thresholds will be defined, and that's how they will be communicated.
Sorry.
Ms. McIntyre.
And then I was looking through the endorsements that would be covered under this. It's also the instructional leadership license also.
No, ma'am, that would not be
Okay, I
eligible
saw
for this, 'cause that's a different license type.
Okay, all right, that scared me too. Okay, I think as a teacher for 2 decades, I feel like we're pushing for wanting to be respected as a profession. We want to be considered professionals. I can't find another profession where if you fail that exam, you're able to just go through different alternates. And so once again, I'm not for this.
We listen to our teachers too, so that's, thank you. Other comments or questions? Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you. A couple thoughts. One is, one of the things that I appreciate about this board is that it does have a variety of perspectives and backgrounds, enriched from a lot of different industries and decades of experience, et cetera, et cetera. This is a subject matter in which there's others on this board who have comparative advantage, who have experience taking these tests. They understand the nuance. I would weight their views on this very heavily. Would it be okay, Ms. McInturf, to maybe just ask that you work with, that we passed today, but then you work with the department so that when it comes back around on second reading, we've got your stamp of approval, or you can educate us as to why it's not a good idea?
Absolutely.
One thing I would flag for everyone is, when we talk about standard error and standard deviation, those are two very different things mathematically. One of the things that we would need to be very intentional about is making sure that, I think as has been flagged here, that it's just crystal clear what the expectations are. And there's just not, the less room there is for judgment, the less room there is for ambiguity and confusion and frustration and in manipulation. So I will be asking questions about clarity, but largely deferring to others on this board who have a lot of experience with these tests. Thank you.
Dr. Maxwell.
Ms. Reed, just to clarify for myself, if they were not successful in the remediation, what would happen?
They would need to a candidate who is not successful on one of these flexibilities would need to retake the assessment.
So there is a standard for if they don't meet that remediation level.
That is correct. Ultimately, for licensure purposes, the department is still looking for a satisfaction of the assessment requirement, whether that be a passing score or if adopted, a passing alternate score through one of these flexibilities.
So it's not just they take the remediation and they are granted the license.
That is correct. There has to be a pass within the remediation. And again, it looks different based on each pathway of, do you get a new score? Do you get an alternate score? And I am happy to follow up and provide what I call a cheat sheet for everyone.
Sure. Would that be like if I'm looking to hire a teacher and I look at their licensure and I look back at their previous scores, would it give me that information that they passed their licensure test on like first or second attempt, or would it show that they passed based on remediation?
As far as attempt number, we do not have that information listed out as like first attempt. However, when an educator is employed with a district, that district has the opportunity to view certain information in that educator's profile to include on their preparation tab how many times an assessment has been taken, as long as that assessment was provided to Tennessee. And so we are an automatic reporting state, but of course there's requirements to get that score to us. So that does occur. And if there is an alternate passing method that has what we would call this, there would not be a new score, but it would say passed by alternate. We are in talks with our vendor, our licensure management system vendor, to see what that would look like, but there will be a notation. So in cases where a new score is not generated, there will be an alternate kind of flag, if you will, or notation, versus if a new score is generated based on the flexibility, then they would get a new score.
Ms. Cobb.
Chairman Eby, thank you, Ms. McIntyre, for bringing that up, because we had this discussion not too long ago about what happens if they continue not to be able to pass a praxis test. And if we're going to continue to be celebrated in this state with the highest performing improvement in our test scores and our achievements, then we're going to have to set our bar high and continue to hold that accountable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Jensen.
How many educators does this involve? I mean, what are the numbers of folks that are in the middle of testing, retesting? Is it, I know it's statewide, but just want a little feel for how big a challenge it is.
It's hard for me to put a certain quantifiable, digit to it right now. I will say, qualitatively, we operate a general inbox that receives about 250 inquiries a day. And this is a topic that is frequently in our inbox, asking for educators or other organizations in support, LEAs in support, director of schools in support of something like this. I would say we're hearing from at least 10 to 20, sometimes up to 50 educators a week, especially during this time of year. We're entering our busy season. Last year, Tennessee, my team put over 2,000 new teachers with licenses into Tennessee. Whether or not they sought employment and were gainful in that employment, that's a different story. But we did process over 2,000 new license transactions just within a short time frame of last year. So not everyone would be impacted by this, but we certainly would have individuals who would be impacted. And I would say we're at least in the triple digits. And some of these individuals, this is their final requirement to be able to become licensed and gain employment in Tennessee beyond something like an emergency credential.
Dr. Morrison.
I may be stealing what you, I was just conferring with the commissioner over here. And just for some additional historical context, I was probably at the department when we used to set the cut scores below the recommended cut. And that is still, and so I echo, sentiments of educators in terms of the high bar that we need to set and the expectations that we have for educators. I also am really interested in what this flexibility could look like when applied. And if you said that other states have already, been implementing this, what can we learn in terms of numbers, in terms of what individuals are affected, how successful they are after they pass through this pathway? And so I think what could be helpful is to have either a workshop presentation in August or some additional collaboration between now and the final reading, because I think it's worth exploring. We want talented educators, and if there's just a piece of the assessment that's tripping them up that we can help them master, and I agree, I mean, it's got to show the mastery of the content to feel confident that they're ready to step into the classroom, then I think it's worth exploring. But I think we can collaborate, hopefully, between first and final reading on some additional information and work with the vendors who are, I'm sure, full of additional information in other states and sort of how this is coming together. So we can commit to working on that between first and final.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? So we have a recommendation on, Commissioner.
I was just going to say, we're committed to figuring this out and we'll work with you as soon as possible. Okay.
Yes, very good discussion. So we have a recommendation on first reading for professional assessments for Tennessee Educator Policies 5105, with the understanding that between first reading and second reading, there'll be a lot of continued clarification, workshops or whatever. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is Educator Evaluation Policy 5201, Ms. Amy Floyd.
I'm Amy Floyd. I'm the Senior Director of Educator Effectiveness for the department. State Board Educator Evaluation Rule in Chapter 0520-02-01 sets forth the requirements for teacher observations by state-approved models and allows charter schools or charter management organizations to propose alternative observation models for the purpose of meeting the state teacher observation requirements. And State Board of Educator Evaluation Policy 5.201 provides details about evaluation requirements, including outlining alternative charter school observation models. Appendix A of the State Board Educator Evaluation Policy 5.201 includes approved charter school alternative observation models. This item proposes to add Springs Public Schools Tennessee Teacher Evaluation Rubric as an approved alternative rubric model for the 26-27 school year. And pursuant to Evaluation Policy Rule, Chapter 052001-02-01, educators and evaluators are responsible for selecting closely aligned achievement measures from either the pre-K or a 9-12 grade band. Evaluators select school level measures as defined in Appendix B of the State Board Policy in consultation with teachers that are aligned as closely as possible to what the teacher teaches. TDOE monitors the implementation and provides feedback to districts to ensure all measures selected comply with statute and policy, and reviews the options on the achieved measure worksheet for use and availability. This item proposes the following changes to Appendix B. Amends the list to include measures that were recognized as missing in an audit, college level examination program, and TCAP grades 4 through 8 literacy. And it amends the TVAS composite school level selections to remove CTE concentrator measures to provide consistency with other non-tested subject areas. It amends the industry certs by career cluster to align with any of the approved Tier 2 or 3 industry certifications as determined by the Post-Secondary Workforce, CTE, and Military Readiness Division. Revising the appropriate industry certifications ensures alignment with any future Tier 2 or Tier 3 industry certifications. The department recommends the acceptance of this item on first reading. The State Board staff concurs with this recommendation.
Thank you. We have a recommendation for Educator Evaluation Policy 5201. Is there a motion to accept that recommendation?
So moved.
Vice Chair Collins moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Cobb seconds. Are there any questions? No questions. All in favor then for accepting on first reading Educator Evaluation Policy 5201 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, Special Courses Policy, Dr. Christy Wall.
Good morning, Christy Wall, Assistant Commissioner of Academics at the Tennessee Department of Education, bringing forward to you on first reading, Special Course Policy 3.201. State Board of Education Rule 0520-01-03.03 subsection 4 and Special Courses Policy 3.201 permit local education agencies and public charter schools to apply to offer special courses not listed in the approved high school course policy 3.205. The Tennessee Department of Education annually reviews special course applications and assigns subject-specific course codes to courses approved for 1, 3, and 6 years. This item proposes the following revisions to the special course code policy. 1, to clarify that special courses are elective courses and must not be substituted for other graduation requirements. 2, update the maximum approval period from 6 years to 8 years to align the approval cycles with the State Board Standards Revision Schedule. And 3, direct the department to establish a process beginning in the school year 26-27 to identify high-frequency special courses as candidates for conversion to permanent courses listed and to be included in the approved high school course policy 3.205. with approved permanent courses available for LEAs beginning the school year 27-28. The Tennessee Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading, and the State Board staff concurs with the recommendation. I'm happy to take any questions on this item.
Thank you. We have a recommendation for acceptance of Special Courses Policies 3.201. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Vice Chair Cobbins moves. Is there a second? Ms. McInturf seconds. Are there any questions for Dr. Wall? I have a question, just really, how many special courses are there across the state?
Chairman Eby, that's a wonderful question. Let me defer to Lacey Noel. She's here with us today and a colleague on our team who oversees the special course code process, the review process, and all of the current special courses that are approved. So let me call on her. She has the data on the existing special course codes.
Good morning, Lacey Noel, Department of Education. I work with Christy Wall. Currently, that are active courses, we have 30 districts holding approximately 152 courses statewide that are tagged as special courses.
Do any of those special courses then become regular courses that are offered throughout the state, or?
They do not currently.
So help me, give me an example of a special course or something that would be particular for a district.
We have American at War, Extended Learning English, History of the Holocaust, Humanities, Organic Chemistry, Avid 1.
So organic chemistry. Now, I took organic chemistry in high school. So why would that be a special course? Or maybe I just had chemistry in high school. I had organic chemistry in college. Maybe that's the reason it's a special course. I'm just trying to understand, the process of special courses, how districts decide on what they're going to have and why. And
I'm happy to take that question.
Okay.
The special course code provision allows districts to add different particular courses that they deem appropriate, needed, and necessary as a part of their local academic programming. So therefore, as the courses that were mentioned that Lacey brought to you, districts see a need for identifying specific coursework that adds to the diversity of what they're already offering from the state approved high school course code policy and helps diversify at the local level. Those applications come into us once a year. We bring the special courses to you
Right.
Once a year for review and approval. And that coursework, greatly offers the opportunity to intermix content areas and bring in different standards that are outside of just one particular content and domain.
one more question then.
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to think, these courses are great courses and they're for a district, but maybe they could be offered across the state with virtual learning. Are any of them offered across the state virtually?
So special courses are only approved for use by the district
Okay.
whom has applied for them. We do have some provisions as a part of this policy on first reading to establish a process where the frequently seen courses that are being put forward through the application process each year could become and transition into permanent course codes. At that point, they would be open for any and all districts to utilize them as a statewide approved high school course.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Mr. Jensen?
I did. When you look at, take the school from the medical district school that was here, and as they do their coursework, organic chemistry would seem to be one of the things that might be in that curriculum. And you just said, I think, that they can move from special into core, I guess. Did I hear that?
That is a part of this revision of this particular policy.
So as we kind of specialize some of these high schools, how do we, and I'm not asking for an answer, this is more, how do we manage that? So that if you got a school that's focused on getting kids ready to go to medical career, there's core curriculum, it seems to me, and then there's the other courses that come around that within that specialty. So I don't need an answer. I just observe that, are we looking at it so that it is supportive of the mission of that particular school? So.
Yeah, for these specialty schools, I think what you say is right. I mean, I think one of the challenges we have is how can we provide the best opportunities that we can for our students for their career paths
And I want to make sure the core, English and math and
history and science,
that they're there. But there's also seems like we got to think as schools have transitioned out of the kind of one size fits all and we're moving in that direction, just to be sensitive that make sure we're preparing the core, but also building curriculum around that trajectory of whatever that school might be.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, yes,
I
Ms.
just have
Cobb.
an inquiry, Dr. Wall. The 152 special courses, I'm sure there's a list somewhere or a website that we can go to look through all of these. I'm just curious. I'm
Thank you for
nerdy
the
about things
question.
like that.
So that's information that we actually just keep internal to the department. We offer individual communication to the districts around the status of their special course code applications, as well as the term that they're approved for. Could be 3 years, could be a year, could be up to 6 years. And so we have that information on file and keep that just within our team. I'm sure that that's something that we could collaborate on together and share that a bit more widely if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second for special courses policies 3201. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is Civil Rights Compliance Rule 05200121.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Chandrea Hersey. I am the Senior Associate Counsel for Civil Rights and Academic Supports at the Tennessee Department of Education. And I'm here today to present the proposed changes to the Civil Rights Compliance Rule found at 0520-01-21. Changes to this rule include minor clerical edits and updates to statutory citations to align with recent amendments to state civil rights statutes. On July 1st, 2025, pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 4.3.1704, the requirement of state entities to submit annual Title VI compliance reports and implementation plans moved from the Tennessee Human Rights Commission to the Tennessee Department of Human Resources. The Civil Rights Compliance Rule lists the responsibilities of the Tennessee Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, including submitting the department's annual Title VI compliance report and implementation plan, which outlines the department's intentions to comply with the requirements of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The proposed changes to this rule cross-reference Tennessee Code Annotated Section 4.3.1704 to clarify the department's intention to comply with this statute and submit the annual Title VI compliance report and implementation plan to the Tennessee Department of Human Resources. This item supports the State Board's strategic focus on engagement and accountability, and the Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading, and the State Board staff concurs with this recommendation.
Thank you. We have a recommendation on first reading for Civil Rights Compliance Rule 05200121. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Vice Chair Collins moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Jensen seconds. Are there any questions? Ms. Hersey? No questions. We have a motion and a second to approve Civil Rights Compliance Rule 05200121 on first reading. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to take, we've been at this an hour and 40 minutes. We're going to take about a 10-minute break. So we will reconvene at 10:50. Okay, can we get started again? Next item, graduation requirements rule 05200103-06, Mr. Michael Dearline.
Good morning. Michael Derline, Deputy Executive Director of Policy and Research with the State Board. The graduation requirements rule outlines graduation requirements for students in Tennessee, including diploma options and credit requirements for those diploma types. During the February 2026 quarterly meeting of the board tabled a proposal to reduce the number of world language credits while increasing elective courses required for graduation. This followed nearly 8 months of discussion and stakeholder engagement on this topic. During that February meeting, members discussed the need to improve language related to the process by which students can waive world language or fine arts credits, expressing a desire to ensure that process was clear and intentional. Revisions before you today seek to increase clarity to that process, tying the waiver to the student's high school and beyond plan, requiring discussions about that waiver to include school-based staff responsible for advising, school leadership, the student, and the parent. We're proposing to maintain the requirement that the parent agree to the waiver in writing and directing the department to develop guidance and a standard waiver template to be used by districts when waiving fine arts or world language courses. In addition, proposed revisions include a restructuring for clarity and readability, adding language that references other board policies, updating elective focus course areas and expectations, including adding world language as an area of focus, and removing the requirement that world language courses must be taken in the same language. Lastly, I just wanted to share and commend the board on the discussion during the February meeting. I thought it was an incredibly thoughtful and civil discussion, and I'm looking forward to that discussion today as well. With that, take any questions you have.
We have a recommendation for graduation requirements rule 0520010306 on first reading. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Vice Chair Cobbins moves. Mr. Jensen seconds. Are there questions or comments, discussions? I have one. When I look at this, it says in item 20B, the student's parents or guardian has agreed to the waiver in writing. But if you look at the item before, it's up to the district to decide if they're going to give a waiver or not. But then the parents have to agree to the waiver. We've had this conversation. I would like to see the word decision be instead of the waiver. So the parents agree to the decision. What that does is that keeps the item open until a joint decision can be made. And that protects both the district and the parents, as opposed to just the parents approving the waiver. So between first and second reading, my recommendation is we change that word from waiver to decision. I will move to make that change. There's a second. Ms. McIntyre.
So when you took out the word "and" on the B part of that, we're still saying they have to go through A and B, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Oh, thank you. And therein lies the rub. much of the conversation we've had on this topic has been about who makes the decision, who has the decision rights. We discussed at length last time changing the word may to shall, which I appreciate seeing here. I would like to, without diving into all the details today, I would like to work with you, Michael, to look at Section A and make sure that the logic that flows in Section 20 as a whole follows the concept that that it shall be waived. And yes, there's a requirement that there is an awareness and an agreement on the part of the parent and the guardian, but Section A, I think, is still missing the mark a little bit in terms of the intent from the conversation that followed. I watched our meeting from last month, and just to refresh myself on the conversation that was had, and I think that we've made great progress here. The team's done great work, but I will commit to working with you, Michael, to get this thing maybe polished a little bit more for second reading. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Dr. Morrison.
Just a brief addendum. We've had really great conversations with the Department of Education as well, and I know that they are drafting the sort of template that would be available to districts around the waiver, and I think they're waiting to see kind of what this body decides to reflect that in that draft waiver. But I think changing it to decision from waiver would also allow the document to cover not only you're waiving the requirement to have world language as a graduation requirement, but potentially what are you taking in lieu of it? I mean, again, I think anchoring it in the high school and beyond plan, bringing the parent into the discussion really sort of fulfills a lot of the intent of the body. And we'll look forward to working with Mr. Mollenhauer to make sure that we adjust that as needed to ensure that it does. But I think it's more than just agreeing to waive the world language. It's like, what is the plan for that student in lieu of world language?
Any other questions or comments? So we have a recommendation for graduation requirements rule 0520010306 on first reading and between first and second reading, and then Mr. Mollenhauer will work and bring back with Mr. Durline. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes.
Just one point. You made a motion to make an amendment. There was no second and it was not withdrawn.
Thank you.
Directive has to do that on.
I'm directing you to do that on final reading. Change the word. So not a motion. I'm sorry.
Okay, you withdraw the motion.
I withdraw the motion. It's just directed on final reading. That's clear. It's the decision. It's not just the waiver that has to be agreed to by the parents. Okay, back to it. Graduation requirements rule 0520010306 on first reading. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Durline.
Thank you.
Next item, accountability hearing rules, 05200902, Ms. Allie Reed.
Good morning, Allie Reed, Chief of Strategy for the State Board. On first reading are our accountability hearings rules with proposed updates following our first year of hearings. The proposed changes before you originate from staff and member recommendations based on our week of 18 accountability hearings this past March, as well as formal and informal feedback that we gathered from district and charter school leaders who are in attendance and the Department of Education. Proposed revisions include removal of the reference to the report card to allow for more flexibility in the timing of the department's release of school letter grades, expanding the timing or the timeline for an LEA or charter school to provide evidence of a closing or closed school and notice of an unavoidable conflict for the local board chair or the governing body chair. Removing the limitations of the committee to recommend certain corrective actions based on an LEA or charter school's number of appearances before the committee. Creating guidelines to address a scenario in which an LEA or charter school would be called back for another hearing following the committee's decision not to recommend a corrective action, and clarifying the voting process for the state board when deciding to approve the proposed corrective actions from the hearing committee, which you will do later today. State board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between first and final reading, and we will continue to engage stakeholders and department staff on the need to further update these rules and the policy that follows. Happy to answer any questions.
We have a recommendation for accountability hearing rules 05200902 on first reading. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Vice Chair Cobbins moves. Is there a second? Mr. Mollenhauer seconds. Are there questions for Ms. Reed? I will say this is that, as we went through the accountability hearings, the way that we had it written before is we had to give an action plan, even though it appeared that certain districts were clearly moving in the right direction. Because if we didn't give them an action plan, and they didn't move in the right direction, we couldn't call them back for another 2 or 3 years, right? And so as we're going through that process, so we ended up giving everybody an action plan. And it didn't really differentiate between those districts that were moving forward. And we learn by the process we've gone through. And I think one thing we've learned is that by making this change, we may not give an action plan to a district that appears that they're moving in the right direction very well. So some differentiation there. But if they're not moving, we can call them back next year, which I think is a big plus in the process and the change. Any other comments or questions? Okay. We have a recommendation in for accountability hearing rules 0520-0902. All in favor on first reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, accountability hearings policy 1600 on first reading.
Thank you. Also on first reading is our accountability hearings policy, which outlines the hearings implementation timeline and further defines the corrective actions the state board may recommend for the department to impose. Following the first year of hearings, the state board staff recommends revisions to this policy that include changes to the language to further align the policy with state board rules, reducing the maximum amount of time for an accountability hearing, the division of a corrective action plan into 2 levels, with 1 level receiving additional support from the department during its development, adding a timeline and next steps for the approval of a corrective action plan by the department, defining how a corrective action plan may be adjusted in the event that additional schools meet the state board's eligibility criteria during the years in which an LEA or public charter school would not be called for a hearing, or in the event that the eligible schools in which the hearing was held on behalf of are no longer rated as an F school in the immediately following school year. And finally, broadening the scope of the audit and investigation to include review of any contractual relationships with vendors responsible for academic implementation or instructional support. Happy to answer any questions on this policy.
Have a recommendation for accountability hearings policy 1600. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
A motion by Vice Chair Cobbins. Is there a second? Mr. Jensen, second. Are there any questions for Ms. Reed? Yeah, Dr. Morrison.
Sort of a question, sort of an invitation for a conversation, probably more than anything. But Allie and I have worked a lot on this, as have other team members and board members. We had to submit changes pretty quickly following the hearings for first reading to have these effectuated for next academic year. And a couple of things, and I know the commissioner may want to speak to, we've had some really rich conversations with her team as we debrief the hearings and think about now the implementation phase where the department will work more closely with some of these districts on the corrective action plan in particular. And one of the things that I think has already been mentioned, but I know the committee and those of us on staff felt after the hearings this year, was that we were limited in the number of ways that we could direct the districts based on, the evidence that they were presenting around their plans for improvement. And so the rule, as Allie has shared, gives us more options in terms of that no action, which would, potentially allow us to bring the district back sooner. We've added back in the audit, which we can talk about that. I mean, I think that would still be really extreme circumstances. That's not something that we would, imagine recommending frequently. I think the question that I still have is around the corrective action, because again, the committee really thought that having a couple levels of distinction there made sense. However, in further conversations with the department, and I know the commissioner will share this too, the comprehensive needs assessment, which will be required for any district that gets a corrective action, is really what's probably going to lay bare, who needs the most support. So I think there's some questions there about where you would define sort of the level 1, level 2. Is it as we proposed up front at the time of the hearing? Is it something that gets determined, by the department and reported back to us after the comprehensive needs assessment? I think the idea is that we know some districts are going to need a little higher touch, a little bit more support to really get the plan that's going to put their students on a path to success. And I'm grateful that our partners at the department are really up for that work, thinking about it deeply. It, fits into the folds of what they already do, often through the court offices. So I just bring that up for consideration as we think about between first and final, some of the adjustments that we might want to make even beyond what's presented today.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Sure. And thank you, Dr. Morrison. I appreciate that. And I also want to acknowledge, Ally, this has been a tremendous body of work that you've had to do over the last year. And so thank you so much. And thank you for listening to us and helping us kind of maneuver. So yes, I think Dr. Morrison brought up a couple issues. Part of it is we would just want to make sure that, you know, when we come, when we're engaged in this, that we're also not surprising school districts too much. And so if we can just continue to work with you, you know, you brought up one of the issues, I think too, is also thinking about how the board is actually directing the department. We got to make sure that that's a little bit more of a collaboration as opposed to a direct, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, mandate. I don't know. That's not even what I get. Anyway, words are eluding me, but I think there's some opportunity to work together and make sure that we do this in a way that everybody is going to benefit from it and is going to learn from this. Because again, one of the most critical aspects of accountability is to be able to identify and support. We have to marry the two. We can't just let people out there on the edge without any support. So again, appreciate your collaboration and we'll continue to work together. So.
Good comments. Other comments? So we have a recommendation with some directions that we're going to be looking at between first and second readings for the accountability hearings policy 1600. All in favor on first reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And before you leave, Ally, I too was going to say how much we appreciate your leadership. I know each one of us that sat on this committee prepping us for those hearings and laying it out. We could have never done it without you and the support you provided and all the efforts that you did. And again, it's a first in the nation. NASB is very excited about it, as you know. And so we're going to get to tell the rest of the nation about what we're doing and how we're helping our school districts improve. So thank you for your efforts. Next item, board meetings policy, Mr. Nathan James.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. I'm Nathan James. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the State Board of Education. This item presents revisions to the board meetings policy to make updates and revisions. The revision clarifies who presides over the board under very specific circumstances. It changes staff recommendation to executive director's recommendation for items considered by the board, while not preventing any member from consulting board staff regarding the policy, legal and/or other considerations and implications of the item. Specifies the Department of Education board members or the board staff may propose items to the executive director for inclusion in the meeting agendas, while further specifies that the board, through the executive director, may request that other state agencies develop or present items when the other state agency is considered to have unique subject matter expertise. Additionally, language was added making clear that an amendment to an item being considered may be made by a majority of members present and voting, while the majority of members entitled to vote is required for the passage of a rule or policy. So to preempt the questions that will come with that, if we're having a meeting where a quorum is 5 of 9, for instance, the board right now has only 9 seats filled, so a quorum is 5. If we wanted to have an amendment on an item where there's only 5 board members present, then 3 could authorize the amendment, but it still takes 5 votes, that is to say a majority of the members entitled to vote for final passage and substantive action on it, because that becomes an action of the board, and only a quorum or a majority of the board can take an action in the board's name that way. It further removes references to statements of necessity for electronic meetings, as the underlying statutory requirement has been repealed. Staff, of course, recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We have a recommendation on first reading for board meetings policy 1.400. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Cobb moves. Vice Chair Cobbins seconds. Are there any questions for Mr. James? Yeah, Mr. Mullenhour.
I look forward to being able to submit a resolution on a piece of paper that I had to laugh just a little bit. I thought, okay, we probably have tried to negotiate various resolutions on the fly a little too much, and they finally got fed up with it and said, you have to put it in writing.
Actually, that
Touche.
part of the policy dates back at least 2 decades. So it's apparently happened before. So
Do appreciate the clarifications and keeping us straight and narrow. Any other comments or questions? We have a recommendation for board meetings policy 1.400. All in favor on first reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you, Chairman.
Now we'll move on to action items for final reading. First item is school and student health services rules. 0520-0113, Skylar Travis.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Skylar Travis, Associate Counsel with the Tennessee Department of Education. Ms. Paisley sends her apologies that she was not able to be here to present this item on final reading. Before you today on final reading are revisions to the State Board School and Student Health Services Rules 0520-0113. The revisions to this rule were precipitated by the passage of Chapter 346 of the Public Acts of 2025, encouraging each school in an LEA, local education agency, and public charter school to keep a bronchodilator rescue inhaler in the school so that it may be administered to a student believed to be having asthma symptoms or in respiratory distress in an emergency situation. This item presents revisions within the existing rules and creates a new rule to develop clinical protocols regarding the administration of a stock bronchodilator rescue inhaler at a public school. State Board staff held a rulemaking hearing on April 24th, 2026 to collect public feedback. No comments were received. Minor revisions were made between first and final reading to ensure alignment with Public Chapter 346. The Tennessee Department of Education recommends approval of this item on final reading. The State Board of Education staff concurs with this recommendation.
We have a recommendation and on final reading for school and student health services rule 0520-0113. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Jensen moves, Mr. Mullenhour seconds. Are there any questions for Mr. Travis? No questions because this is a rule on second reading. Mr. Griffin, please call the roll.
Mr. Cobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Jensen. Aye. Ms. Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. Maxwell.
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Aye.
Mr. Rollins.
Aye.
Ms. Sapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Travis.
Thank you.
Next item is District and Improvement Planning Policy 2101, Ms. Ginger Leach.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I'm Ginger Leach, Assistant Commissioner of District and Leadership Support for the department, presenting the District and School Improvement Planning Policy 2.101. Chapter 1005 of the Public Acts of 2024 amended TCA 49-1-613 to require the transition of district and school planning from an annual approval of the Tennessee Department of Education to approval once every 3 years. District and School Planning Planning Policy 2.101 details the requirements for the planning processes, including completing a needs assessment, aligning goals and strategies to the identified needs, aligning school plans to that of the respective district, and providing responses to the federal and state identified areas of focus. This item presents the following revisions. Transitions the planning process to approval every 3 years and requires 3-year goals with annual targets and long-range strategies to define the theories of actions for reaching each goal. Transitions action steps from mandatory to only required when identified as necessary by the Department of Education, and removes any previously included federally or state identified areas of focus that will be captured in other ways. It also identifies for the districts, it aligns the TISA accountability report requirements with the planning process. This is a natural fit and also provides an opportunity to streamline the district requirements and is in direct response to district feedback. There have been no changes to this item since first reading. The Tennessee Department of Education recommends approval on this item on final reading, and the State Board of Education staff concurs with this recommendation.
Thank you. We have a recommendation for approval of District and School Improvement Planning Policy 2101 on final reading. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. McIntyre Smooth, is there a second? Second. Mr. Rollins seconds. Very good. Are there any questions? Yes, Ms. McIntyre.
When does this go into effect? This coming school year or?
So we implemented this with districts for their 26-27 through 28-29 plans. And so that will also go into effect with schools in their plans as well, which will start during this next cycle. So school plans will also be 26-27 through 28-29.
So they'll do another plan for like this coming school year and then not again for 3 years.
It will kick in for their plans for 26-27 and then be that plan for the next 3 years.
Okay.
We will ask them to kind of refresh those as they get new data to make sure those goals still, fit for where they are. But as far as development, it's the same plan for the next 3 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? All in favor then for accepting District and School Improvement Planning Policy 2101 on final reading, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Leach. Next item, Educator Licensure Policy, Ms. Taylor Reed.
Good morning, Taylor Reed, Senior Director of Licensure. Tennessee State Board of Education Educator Licensure Policy 5.502 outlines general licensure requirements, including application and duration of licenses, professional development points, and endorsements. This item revises the endorsement sections by adding equivalent post-secondary educator endorsements to align with the middle and secondary grades core academic and middle and secondary grades world languages endorsements. Aligning these endorsement categories ensures qualifying candidates can obtain the appropriate post-secondary license and endorsement. There have been no changes to this item since first reading. The Department of Education recommends approval of this item on final reading. The SBE staff concurs with this recommendation, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. A recommendation for approval of Educator Licensure Policy 5.502 on final reading. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Mullenhour moves. Is there a second? Dr. Maxwell seconds. Any questions for Ms. Reed? No questions. All in favor then for accepting Educator Licensure Policy 5.502 on final reading, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Uniform Grading Policy. Mr. Michael Durline.
Michael Durline, Deputy Executive Director of Policy and Research with the State Board. Uniform Grading System Policy 3.301 builds on the Uniform Grading System Rule, which establishes the statewide uniform grading scale to be used by LEAs for students in grades 9 through 12 for the purpose of application for post-secondary financial assistance administered by TSAC. This item revises the percentage points used to calculate semester grade averages for dual enrollment courses. And the rule was actually updated back in 2024. This was just an inadvertent miss on our part. And there have been no changes to this item since first reading.
I have a recommendation for Uniform Grading Policy 3.301 on final reading. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. Cobb moves. Is there a second? Second. Vice Chair Cobbin seconds. Are there any questions for Mr. Durline? No questions. All in favor of accepting Uniform Grading Policy 3.301 on final reading, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, approved high school courses policies 3.205. It's Brianna Summers.
There we go. Good afternoon, Chair Evie and board members. My name is Brianna Summers. I'm the Director of Policy and Academics at the Tennessee State Board of Education. Before you, I have the approved high school courses policy on final reading. This policy identifies approved high school courses that are approved by the State Board for credit in public Tennessee high schools. As we've talked about in the last couple meetings, graduation requirements and substitutions are among some of our most frequent questions in our emails and our phones. So we really wanted to provide clarity for districts, schools, educators, and counselors. On final reading, this item proposes additional technical edits to increase consistency within and across program and subject areas. Essentially, some formatting. happy to take any questions that you have.
We have a recommendation for approved high school courses policy 3.205 on final reading. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. Cobb moves. Is there a second? Mr. Jensen seconds. Any questions for Ms. Summers? No questions. All in favor of approving high school policy 3.205 on final reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, Brianna Summers, Tennessee 2029-2030 Tennessee English Language Arts Standards.
Thank you, Chair. It's me again. These standards are on final reading and they're planned to go in effect in the 2029-2030 school year in all of our Tennessee public classrooms. You all know well, based on our presentation at our workshop in February, that the state board is charged with leading the review for English, math, science, and social studies standards every 8 years. And that's a legislatively directed, rigorous process that promotes collaboration and transparency. And as we talked about in our workshop, we're really excited that we were able to break some records with application numbers. 297 applicators applied to be on this committee, and you got to hear from some of them in February. The changes since first reading are minor formatting, including margins, line breaks, they're really sexy stuff over here, and minor grammar like commas and hyphens. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
We have a recommendation for 2029-2030 Tennessee English Language Arts Standards. Is there a motion to accept those standards? Ms. Cobb moves. Dr. Maxwell seconds. Any questions?
Chairman Eby,
Yes, Dr. Maxwell.
I would just like to thank Brianna and Ms. Summers again for her work and the team that puts all this together, because unless you've sat on a standards review committee, the amount of work and time that these educators dedicate to this process. And I'm grateful that this board supports that work and other groups support that work, because it is integral for the success of our students. So thank you, Ms. Summers.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. And if anyone wants to join us to talk math standards review, we'll be in this building the week of July 20th.
Very well said, Dr. Maxwell. And yes, thank you, Brianna. Any other questions or comments? I'll ask our parliamentarian. This just takes a voice vote for standards. It doesn't take a roll call vote. I couldn't remember.
As chairman, you're welcome to require one if you want to, but it's not necessary. Any member can
I think
request one.
standards, we ought to do a roll call vote. I mean, that's one of our major activities. So I'm going to request a roll call vote.
There you go. And you've heard your own request, and you'd probably vote favorably for those.
Don't tempt me with a good time, Cherry B.
All right, Mr. Griffin, please call the roll.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Jensen.
Aye.
Ms. Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. Maxwell.
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre. Mr. Mullenhour.
Aye.
Mr. Rollins.
Aye.
Ms. Sapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
And the motion passes. Thank you very much. Again, setting standards is one of the major requirements, responsibilities that we have on the state board. And we appreciate all the guidance and help that we get from the staff and the teachers. The time that the teachers spend to come and to sit on those standards review committees is outstanding. Thank you very much, Ms. Sanders.
Thank you.
Next item, annual measurable objectives, Dr. David Laird.
Thank you, Chairman Eby, members of the board. I am David Laird, Assistant Commissioner for Assessment, Accountability, and Research, and I'm here to present on first and final read annual measurable objectives. TCA 491-602 requires the State Board of Education, in conjunction with the Commissioner of Education, to establish appropriate performance goals and measures for schools and LEAs. It's also worth noting that this goal-setting mechanic is how Tennessee meets a federal requirement in the Every Student Succeeds Act. Annual measurable objectives, or AMOs, provide schools and districts with targets that help interpret recent performance and prioritize future efforts. Tennessee sets each of these targets individually for schools and districts, as well as various student subgroups, including major racial and ethnic categories, economically disadvantaged students with disabilities, and English language learners. The indicators for which these targets are set include proficiency rate, chronic absenteeism, progress on an English language proficiency assessment, grad rate, and a college and career readiness indicator. While the underlying mechanism for setting these targets has remained consistent since 2017-18, there were two small changes to the indicators on which these AMOs are calculated. In the federal accountability system, we've long maintained a college and career ready indicator called ReadyGrad. When we launched our state system just a number of years ago, we created a new version of that indicator, the college and career ready indicator. We have now essentially replaced the ReadyGrad indicator with the more recently developed college and career ready indicator. So the AMO targets are now being produced for the college and career ready indicator as opposed to ReadyGrad. This is a significant improvement primarily because the ReadyGrad indicator always used lag data. We had essentially given schools an extra year to clean up that cohort data. With the advent of TISA, there was an impetus for us to clean up that data much faster. And so when we created this college and career ready indicator, we were able to use current year data. So this has the added benefit of now making the post-secondary outcome indicator in our accountability system more relevant. It also updates the grad rate indicator as well. So again, the only difference here is we're now calculating these targets on current data as opposed to lag data. The logic of setting the targets remains unchanged. I won't go into the math unless prompted, but essentially we ask for each of these indicators for district schools and subgroups to identify the gap between the present number of students that are meeting these benchmarks to every student meeting the benchmark. We take that gap and schools are expected to reduce that gap in half over an 8-year period to meet the first level of AMO target, or to reduce that gap over a 4-year period to essentially meet what we call the double AMO in the accountability system. So with that said, the department presents this for approval on first and final read. The state board staff concurs, and I'm happy to take any questions.
We have a recommendation for annual measurable objectives, AMOs, first and final reading. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. McInturf moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Maxwell, second. Are there questions for Dr. Laird? I've got a comment and a question. First, really glad to see, the ReadyGrad versus the career and college indicator, putting that similar instead of having two different performance indicators, et cetera. And I know this is a federal law, AMOs are federal law, but we have our letter grades A through F. Is there a continued effort to try to meld those together so that the districts are only looking at one thing, instead of worried about over here and worried about over here? And
Chairman, we really appreciate the question. It's clearly very important to the department and very topical. The U.S. Department of Education signaled late last summer some potential flexibility that states might have to be relieved of some of the provisions in ESSA. Obviously, Commissioner Reynolds leapt on that, jumped on that a little bit, and really directed the department to explore the possibility of, can we now get down to one accountability system? Do we have enough flexibility to stop operating two systems? We've never wanted to be in that space. It has taken us a while to get clarity with USED about what really is on the table to potentially be waived. We're extremely confident we think we can get there now. And as soon as this summer, we're really looking forward to starting a number of conversations with districts about how we can achieve that. I don't want to undersell the complexity of it. There is not as much flexibility as we had perhaps hoped. So it's definitely going to be a melding of systems. The department doesn't want to work unilaterally here. We need to have a lot of conversations to figure out how to do it. But the goal setting mechanic is one of the things that USED will not budge on. And so we look forward to figuring out if there's perhaps a better version of this for the state of Tennessee moving forward.
Great. Keep moving in that direction.
Will do.
Any other questions or comments? So we have a recommendation, motion and a second for first and final reading of annual measurable objectives. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Laird.
Thank you.
Next item, educator preparation providers and specialty area programs. Dr. Jennifer Nelson.
Good. I guess it's afternoon now. Jennifer Nelson, Senior Director of Educator Preparation. This item delivers action recommendations of education preparation providers in their specialty area programs. Carson Newman University participated in a joint Cape State review in fall 2025. The provider is recommended for full approval, and all specialty area programs are recommended for full approval. University of Tennessee Martin participated in a Cape State joint review in fall of 2025. The provider is recommended for full approval, and all specialty area programs are recommended for full approval. And last, Bethel College participated in a focused review in fall of 2025. The review team concluded that the EPP meets expectations on all reviewed standards, and the provider is recommended for full approval, and no specialty area programs were reviewed at that time. The Department of Education recommends acceptance on this item on first and final reading, and the State Board staff concurs with this recommendation.
Thank you. We have a recommendation, first and final reading for education preparation providers and specialty area programs approvals. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. McInturf moves. Is there a second? Mr. Mullenhour seconds. Are there any questions? No questions. All in favor for first and final reading for educator preparation providers and specialty area programs on first and final reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, special course approval recommendation. Dr. Christy Wall speaking about special courses.
Thank you, Chairman. Christy Wall, Assistant Commissioner for Academics for the Department of Education, bringing to you special course approval recommendations on first and final reading. The State Board of Education Academic Program Requirements Rule 0520-01-03-.03 subsection 4 and Special Course Policy 3.201 allow school districts to apply to offer special courses not listed in the approved high school courses policy 3.205. The Department of Education annually reviews special course and special programs of study applications and assigns subject-specific course codes to special courses approved for 1, 3, or 6-year intervals. This item presents the list of all special course applications received by the department for the 2026-2027 school year, along with their approval status and, if applicable, the number of years for which the special course was approved. This item does not include any rule or policy revisions. The Tennessee Department of Education recommends approval of this item on first and final reading, and the State Board staff concurs with the recommendation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. We have a recommendation for special course approval recommendations. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Vice Chair Cobbins moves. Is there a second? Ms. McInturf seconds. Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Wall? I've got a question. So first, it looks like some pretty good courses are being offered, which is great. But why would a district request courses that are so similar to courses that they are already presenting that causes their course that they're requesting to be denied? I mean, is it something that they don't like about the course, or?
That's a great question, Chairman Eby. We see a lot of different applications and reasons for applications for the variety of special courses that are put through via the annual application and received and operationalized by the department. Course descriptions sometimes and academic standards that are included in existing and state-approved courses oftentimes undergo some flexibilities and local customizations at the LEA level that a district would like to offer, perhaps at a particular school. And tends to customize their own learning for that particular course. As I mentioned previously, oftentimes districts decide to pull in standards or academic concepts and topics that touch several different domains of study, whether it be social studies and ELA braided together, or perhaps it's science and mathematics braided together. Some of the standards in those different dynamic examples could be the reason why districts choose to go the special course code route because it provides local flexibility with what they're seeking to do with a particular school, or perhaps at the interest or capacity available by the educator that's going to be offering the course.
That's helpful. Thank you. Any other questions? Not, we have a motion and a second for special course approval recommendations. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, textbook and instructional waiver request, Morgan County Schools, ELA grades K through 5. Brianna Summers.
Chair Eby and members, Brianna Summers, Director of Policy and Academics at the State Board of Education. Before you on first and final reading, you have a textbook and instructional materials waiver from Morgan County for grades K through 5 ELA from Curriculum Associates. State law charges the State Board of Education to prescribe textbooks and instructional materials based on recommendations from the Tennessee Textbook and Instructional Materials Quality Commission. It's a mouthful. And you see that at our last meeting with our approval of certain textbook lists. State law also authorizes the State Board of Education to approve or deny waivers from local education agencies that wish to use textbooks and instructional materials outside of that list. This process is further outlined in our textbook waiver rule. So as you heard just a moment ago, the Tennessee State Board of Education leads standards review, including English language arts. And in 2023, Tennessee realized that our standards review cycle could benefit from shifting from a 6-year to an 8-year cycle, in part saving districts money and reducing instructional disruptions for our subjects that aren't changing as frequently as something like CTE and data science. However, this transition that passed in state law, and it's in Public Chapter 192 of 2023. As a result of that shift, there were some downstream impacts, and some subjects were sort of caught in midst of that, including ELA, and you'll also hear potentially from me in math in a couple years. In collaboration with the Department of Education and the Textbook Commission, we worked to navigate this situation and really, support districts one-on-one. We held office hours and things like that to sort of navigate this transition. And as a result, Morgan County is applying for a textbook waiver, like I said, from Curriculum Associates Magnetic Literacy for grades K-5 ELA. In your member binders online, you had an attachment to hear directly from Morgan County as to why they wanted to use those materials. And based on the Department of Education subject matter expert feedback, rule criteria, and multiple state law requirements, the State Board staff recommends approval of this item on first and final reading to be in effect until the next new ELA textbook implementation cycle to sort of bridge that gap between materials. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. So we have a recommendation for approval, textbook and instructional materials waiver request for Morgan County Schools, ELA grades K through 5. There's a motion to accept. Dr. Maxwell moves. Is there a second? Ms. McIntyre seconds. Are there any questions for Ms. Summers? No questions. All in favor then for accepting the waiver request for Morgan County Schools ELA grades K through 5 textbooks signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Summers. Next item, local school board member training policy 2100, Ms. Ellie Reed.
Thank you. Good morning again. Allie Reed, Chief of Strategy for the State Board. On first and final reading is policy 2.100, which provides local school board members with the list of training courses that are approved for meeting the State Board's annual training requirements. The State Board received 7 course applications for local school board member training this year from 3 prospective course providers, including those who were seeking renewal of currently approved course. The applications were reviewed by the board-appointed advisory committee, who voted to recommend 6 of the 7 course applications for your approval today. The recommended courses have been added into this policy, and the advisory committee's evaluation rubrics were provided as a supplement and posted with the public agenda for today's meeting. Training course approvals are valid for 3 years unless otherwise noted, and any applicants with courses that were not approved today may apply again in the future. Happy to answer any questions.
Have a recommendation for approval, local school board member training policy 2100. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. Cobb moves. Is there a second? Second. Vice Chair Cobbins seconds. Any questions for Ms. Reed? No questions, and we have a motion and a second on final reading for local school board member training policy 2100. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Ms. Reed.
Similarly, this policy 6.112 provides charter school governing body members with their list of approved training courses to meet the state board's annual training requirements. This year, we received 11 governing body training course applications from 5 prospective course providers. And again, these applications were reviewed by our state board appointed advisory committee, who voted to recommend 3 of the 11 applications for your approval. The recommended courses have been added to this policy, and the rubrics were provided as supplement as well as posted with the public agenda. And again, these courses are valid for 3 years unless otherwise noted. And of course, any applicants who are not approved in this cycle may choose to apply again in the future. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a recommendation for approval of charter school governing body training policy 6112. Do I have a motion to accept? Ms. Cobb moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Mullenhour seconds. Any questions for Ms. Reed? No questions. All in favor for charter schools governing body training policy 6.112 on final reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, 2025-2026 accountability hearings recommendations for corrective action.
Thank you. The State Board's Accountability Hearing Committee conducted 18 hearings in Nashville this past March, and in accordance with State Board rules, they voted on a proposed corrective action for each LEA and public charter school that appeared before the committee. This item includes those proposed corrective actions that require the State Board's approval to become a formal recommendation to the department for implementation. So following your approval today, State Board staff will provide notice of the recommendation to the LEA and the public charter schools that were called for a hearing, as well as to the department. And from there, the department will have 30 days to provide notice of its decision to implement that recommendation, and therefore begin coordinating next steps with the LEA and charter school leadership. State Board rule also requires the department to annually provide updates on any recommended corrective actions, which will begin 1 year from now. Happy to answer any questions.
Have a recommendation on 2025-2026 accountability hearings recommendation for corrective action. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Jensen moves. Is there a second? Ms. Cobb seconds. Any questions for Ms. Reed? Mr. Mullenhour.
Just a comment. I know this has been said before, but I do want to thank the members who spent a week or so working on this. And I've shared other thoughts in the past. I still have some skepticism around the entire process, but this gives us a chance to kind of see that play out and see what benefits may come from it. So I just wanted to thank those who invested in it.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Mullenhour. I'll just ask the commissioner, are you ready to receive our recommendations and take appropriate action?
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? If none, we have a motion and a second for the 2025-2026 accountability hearings recommendation for corrective actions. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Ms. Reed. Next item, 2026 Category 4 church-related non-public school applications. Mr. Alex Anderson and Ryan Shanahan.
I think it's on now. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ryan Shanahan, Associate General Counsel, State Board, joined by Mr. Alex Anderson, Associate General Counsel, State Board. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 4950-801 and State Board Rule 052007-02054, church-related schools operated by denominational, parochial, or other bona fide religious organizations may apply directly to the State Board of Education for approval if they are not accredited by or members of one of the accrediting or membership agencies set forth in statute. Schools seeking approval directly from the State Board must submit a completed application to the State Board's Executive Director for a recommendation for approval or denial. The State Board received 5 applications during the application window from January 1 to March 1, 2026, and representatives from some of the applicants are here with us today. State Board staff evaluated each school's application using the state board's Category 4 church-related schools application rubric and worked closely with each applicant, giving them the opportunity to correct or address any deficiencies in the application materials. During the review process, state board staff regularly collaborated with the Tennessee Department of Education's non-public schools and legal teams to ensure cross-agency alignment on Category 4 school requirements. The Tennessee Department of Education is charged with monitoring SBE-approved Category 4 schools for continued compliance with applicable state and federal laws, including state board rules. Ahead of today's meeting, state board staff drafted their findings and recommendations, copies of which have been provided to board members and posted to the state board's website for review. This item supports the state board's strategic focus on engagement and accountability outlined in the master plan by ensuring SBE meetings promote transparency, accountability, and effective implementation of education policy. Because the applicants have met each of the board's requirements for approval or conditional approval, state board staff, including the executive director, recommend the board approve or conditionally approve the applicant schools on first and final reading. With that, we're happy to take any questions, and Mr. Anderson can provide additional context about the application review process.
Have a recommendation for 2026 Category 4 church-related non-public school applications. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Mullenhour? Mr. Mullenhour moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Jensen seconds. Mr. Mullenhour, would you like to speak?
I have a question. Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the party representing St. Constantine's School here today? That's you? Okay. If you wouldn't mind just coming to the podium just real quick, I just had a question for you. And first of all, thank you for coming today, and thank you for sticking with us through the end of a long agenda. My question is very simple. Has the fire marshal approved of your facility at this point?
My name is Anne Marie McCollum, and no, they can't until the designs have been submitted, but the construction has not been done. So final approval is pending that. We've been in contact with them regularly. We've submitted all of the plans for their approval, but until things are complete, they can't give us an official, report.
Is it a cooperative process from your perspective?
Yes, they've been on site with us, pointed to the things we need. Our architects have drawn the plans to meet all of those, which are pretty minor. It's things like doors need to be rehung.
Okay.
It's not anything major.
Okay.
We just.
Thank you for your investment and time in this process. I know that sometimes getting through all the hoops can be cumbersome, but thank you for making that investment for those kids.
Absolutely.
And then I'll just turn it back to our council. I have a question for them. Thank you.
Don't leave. I've got a question. While she's up there, and maybe another one of your constituents from another school would like to answer this. Why did you decide to go through the State Board of Education application as opposed to some other mechanism to get you for approval?
I wasn't aware there was another process I was told this was what was required. So
Okay. Any of the other members here have anything different? Why they chose? Yes, would you please?
Oh.
Come on up.
Do you mean as opposed to being accredited or?
Yes.
Okay. Well, to receive accreditation, you have to have a school. So it would take 2 years to be accredited. You can't open an accredited school day one.
Okay.
Like it's a process to be approved as accredited. So that's not an option for us.
You want to come? Please identify yourself and.
My name is Lonnie Gary, and I worked for an umbrella school for 21 years, and then I retired 2 years ago. So I was pretty familiar with all of the other accreditation bodies. So when we
What school are you with now?
Titus II Academy.
Okay.
And so when we started looking at accreditation, I actually knew some of these people who I'd worked with for 21 years. And I started contacting them and talking to everyone. And then I found out that the Tennessee Board of Education did accreditations as well, which you used to not do. So I started contacting the Tennessee Board of Education directly. And I want to say that I got better responses. I just felt better about the whole process. And I was much more impressed with the Tennessee Board of Education than the other which there are many of the other accreditation bodies. So we decided to go this route, and we've been very pleased.
Well, thank you very much. I was always curious. That's all. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question for our team, first of all, great job. As indicated by the feedback. My question is, have we observed any pattern of other either agencies or bodies within the state preventing schools from being able to open, and especially if approved by the board? Have there been other hindrances that have developed a pattern?
So, Alex Anderson, Associate Counsel, State Board of Education. I believe just to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly, are you saying after the board approves a school?
Either before or after. In other words, if they're on the path and we look and you're aware of an application that appears to be a valid application, the intent is good, the resources are there, they seem to check all the boxes that would be expected. Are they running into, for example, issues with compliance with the fire marshal's office or some local jurisdiction or some other body that might be preventing them from being able to open?
Understood.
Are you seeing any pattern whatsoever?
Understood. So at this point, I don't think we have data to support that conclusion that they are being, but candidly, I mean, we have 5 before you today. We had 1 school approved last May. That's really the pool of information we were pulling from. So I do not recall seeing anything after the fact or before either.
So sample size is small. I would just ask if you see any pattern, please let me know.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions? So we have a recommendation for 2026 Category 4 church-related non-public school applications. All in favor of the motion in the second signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That finishes our final reading items. Next is other business. Is there any other business that we have here? Yeah, Mr. Rollins.
I just like to tell everyone how honored I am to serve on this board. And most of all, I just want to thank the staff for the incredible job they've done helping bring me up to speed to the best of their ability. I still understand I have a lot to learn, but they've been just more accommodating than you could ever imagine in onboarding me. So also like to thank the board of directors. Y'all have been very helpful too, and I look forward to working with you going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to you being here. I would also like to call out a special person of Mr. Josh Walton for everything that he's done in putting this meeting together, all the logistics, the dinners that we had, the food that we've had, the meeting room. Josh, thank you so much. Let's give Josh. Yes, yes.
Just want to add again my appreciation for your whole team, whether it's Nathan, who wears about 5 or 6 different hats in his position, Sarah, Michael, Allie, everyone. I do believe State Board of Ed is a peer and partner to the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. The truth is, our staff is a lot bigger and they do a lot of great work. But look at your team, as mighty as they are, and all the work that you guys do continuously. I don't know how you do it, so I just want to thank your staff, your team.
Thank you for that, Mr. Gentile. We do have an outstanding staff. We're very fortunate for that.
I'll also say, whenever we hire anyone, we always make sure it says other duties as assigned.
Any other? Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Well, I got to pile on because I was actually sitting here after listening to not only our staff, but the state board staff, and just thought how blessed we are as state agencies to have the level and quality of staff that work in this space. It's just tremendous. And when y'all come up to the podium and I hear y'all, I'm just like,
it doesn't get
wow.
better than this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely not. So thank you for your service to the state, Tennessee.
And we're very fortunate. We look, these 3 people sitting right here at the front desk, what they represent across the state of Tennessee for our students, and every one of them, their focus is on the students. Thank you very much for your service.
I'd just make one observation. I don't know what year I am on this journey,
Who's counting?
But I have watched these three begin to work together from when I first came in. It's just very encouraging to see silos that have come down, efforts that have been made to think about the 1.2 million children that are in our schools every day. So just thank y'all for your cooperation, your work together, staff. I mean, to me, it's very obvious, and I'm grateful for it.
Well said. Anything else? If not, we're adjourned.